Hi friends. On Sunday in one of the classes I taught, we were talking about Psalm 1, where the psalmist compares those who follow God to a tree that is planted by a stream. And so we got to have a great conversation about trees, how trees grow, what they need. 7-year-olds are a vast font of information, and it was fun to get to talk to them just about that. And we were talking about that nourishment, how having those strong roots. And so those who spend time, who are rooted and nourished by God, are like a tree that has what it needs to grow. And we were having a conversation about the science of looking at tree rings and what you can learn about a tree. Not only just its age, but what you can learn about those years of a tree's life. Years where maybe it grew a lot, years where it didn't, years where either the environment, the weather, humans had an impact on that tree's growth. And so it was fun to get to talk about all of those things with these really smart kids. And so then we decided to make our own kind of tree ring of our life. More of a timeline perhaps, but looking back over our lives, what were the years that we had tremendous growth? Maybe it was when we were little, when we learned to walk, or when we learned to talk and our language just kind of exploded. That's such a fun time. And looking at that, but also looking at major life events. When did we get a new sibling that changed our lives? When did we join a new church? Did we have to switch schools? And how did those things feel at that time? And how maybe would it have impacted our tree ring at the time? And getting to spend some time reflecting. Now granted, they're 7 years, 8 years, their timelines were a little bit shorter, but to see the way that they are impacted by things that change in their life and what they had to say about them. And so it's not that those who follow God are always going to be so deeply nourished and that all of our rings are going to be big and strong, because we are always going to have a fruitful and healthy year. But knowing that we aren't left alone in that we are still rooted and we are still being nourished by that God, even when God feels as close as our next breath, even when God feels far, far away, we know that we are not alone in that. So it might be a fun thing for you to think about. You don't need to draw out your circles of your trunk, your tree rings. But it was interesting to think, what has impacted you the most? When did you feel God as close as your next breath? And maybe when was it a little bit harder? And what did those tree rings look like? How did that impact your life? Those who are rooted in love, nourished by God, are like a tree nourished next to a stream. Have a good week, friends.